All right, you guys, we are going to get started with day one, from procrastination to desired destination. And if you haven't yet, you will want to grab a pen and at least a piece of paper, but a notebook is probably appropriate. So good. I see Sarah's holding hers up to the screen. Wonderful. So glad to see it. While we are waiting, or while you guys are gathering that, question I have, and I hope you will put in the chat, is why is this topic of interest? What about this caught your eye and you were like, oh, I need this class? Because I will say we got a lot more people signed up for this class than we have in past classes. So my belief is we see the word procrastination. And even though sometimes we don't want to claim procrastination as truth, we know deep inside that all of the stuff that happens, all of the things that are delaying us from getting what we want, at some level, there is a root of procrastination, right? Yes. And Sarah's saying she procrastinates. She needs this class because that is a truth and she gets it. And I think that that's a lot of us are kind of in that place. And that's great. That's owning it, right? That's understanding. Now, what is procrastination? It's not taking action on the thing that you know you want to do, that you're supposed to do. It's the thing that's holding you back. And what we find is that there's actually 4 types of procrastinators. And I have been all of them at one point in my life. But when you can identify, when you can look at that and kind of be like, okay, when I put it through the awareness filter and really look at what's happening in my life, I have to admit that there's something internal that's keeping me from the things that I want so much. Right. And Vanessa is stating that a lot of her responses that look like procrastination are triggered by past trauma. And that's so true, because whether it's a big or a small trauma, what has happened to us in our past is kind of who we are. And so we take that with us, that baggage, as we go from place to place. And so things start to get heavy, things start to weigh on us. And if we have some tools, which we're going to be talking about in this class, that will take us to a different place. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start talking about our course, but before I bring up the PowerPoint, well, I'll just go ahead and put the PowerPoint up there. I do want to introduce myself in case you don't know me. I am Coach Tina. I am a certified life coach, a founder of the Empowering Champions community, a mastermind course creator, and I am also a 56-year-old woman, a mom of 9 adult children, and I have a heart to serve. I have always been a teacher, a technology instructor. I've always been somebody who's been there helping people from a different perspective, to get from one place to another. And I see we have someone else joining us on Facebook. Welcome, welcome. Diane, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you, thank you. Some of us are watching through the audience in the StreamYard, and you are on Facebook. So it may seem like there's only one of you, but there's a few others in the mix. So you'll hear me talking about people as well. A couple of eyeballs out there now. Thank you, thank you. Go ahead and put in the comments, if you are here, where you are joining from, so that people can understand what time zone you're in, if nothing else, but just kind of a perspective on what you got going on. The topic that I asked is, the question I asked about this topic is, why does procrastination, why is that a trigger for you right now? Why is it important that you learn some skills around what's keeping you from doing what you want, right? The funny thing about this topic is that my name is all over it. And you may not have noticed, but both the word procrastination and destination have my name in it, as in the letters TINA are in both words. And you can see it again there. I think that's kind of fun. It's been something that I have noticed over time. So like I said, I have been in a state of all 4 archetypes of procrastination in my past. And we are going to be talking about procrastination, no doubt, because I know that's the draw, that's the buzz. That's what you guys really want to understand, is why do I hold off doing what I want to do? That will be what we concentrate on Friday, on day 3. Because like a fairy tale where you already know the ending, but you still want to keep reading it and knowing, hearing that story again, we want to start from the happy ending. We want to know that recognition that all things are possible. So we're going to start with our destination. And then while that may seem backwards, that really is where we want to go. All right. So we have someone joining us from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Thank you for being on. When we're using StreamYard technology, right? With StreamYard, unless you're registered, I don't see your name. So right now we've got Diane that's on. She's registered with StreamYard. Vanessa and Sarah are both registered, and they're in the audience so that I can see them and that they're watching on the screens. But if you want to communicate and have me know your name, you can just put it in the message as you go through, and that works just fine. All right. So let's get started on our journey to our desired destination. The agenda is going to look like this. Today, we're talking about why starting with the desired destination works. Why is it that we want to have that compelling future that we're drawn towards? And then on day 2, we're going to talk about reality. So it's not quite like a reality TV show, but the reality is we have to start somewhere, and understanding where we are is super important. And then on day 3, we'll go over the secret to not waiting until tomorrow. Okay, so I know we're really excited, and that these are all areas that are going to expand us and take us to the next level. Because it's a masterclass, I have listed some objectives. And to me, it's real important as a former teacher that we have objectives when we teach, because otherwise, how do we have a benchmark of this is working or not working for me? So the number 1 objective will be to define our vision. And for those of you that have been in my teachings for a while now, you're probably recognizing the theme. We always start with, what is our dream? What do we really want? What's that big vision that we have? And what I know is that in our Empowering Champions, we have a lot of high achievers. And it's because we know we're meant for more. Now, a lot of people might say to us, oh, you do too much, or you take on more than you want, kind of a thing, or than other people do. And they kind of downplay what we're about. But we recognize it, and we're hard on ourselves, right? But we have to start someplace, and we have to have that vision in mind. And the bigger the vision, the more likely we are to push ourselves forward towards it. All right. Morning. I'm so happy everyone is here. Don't forget to put your name or where you're coming in from in the comments so that I can keep track of who's where. And all right. We are going to keep going. The second objective, which we will cover tomorrow, we'll do 2 objectives, is the realistic assessment. How do we know where we really are? And then we're going to figure out our blueprint, our way of doing things. And then on Friday, we're going to bring in the procrastination, really talk about that, but we're going to set goals that actually make sense the way we do things based on what it is we really want. And you're going to learn a proven system for getting through those things that have you stuck, because we don't want to be there, right? We want to be those people that move forward and do what we want to do. All right. I love it. The Port of Spain in Trinidad we have. And remember, I can't see your name. So you might want to put your name in there and let me know who that is. Although we would love to believe that Facebook would allow me to see you, but I don't. It gives me like the spot in time that I jump on. I do see Deborah is on here. Okay, it cleared itself.
Like a spot in time that I jump
and then
on.
It does this crazy thing where I
see Deborah.
have my voice.
Okay, cleared.
Okay, that's why I don't do that, you guys. All right, so let's keep going here. Our destination in mind. See, forward focus is actually the key to what we're talking about. Because, believe it or not, the word or the prefix pro in the word procrastination means forward. So pro is like a positive, right? We see that word and it's kind of a double bind in its own presentation, meaning that it gives us a mixed message. And that's part of why clarity is so important, because a lot of times we have this mixed idea about we want this and we want this, but they're in two completely different directions, and that shuts us down. So we're going to talk about why moving forward is actually the start. We got to pick a path and go on it. And we want to be really assured that we are aligned with that reason that we're moving forward. The thing that we want, if we're not aligned to it, it's like a beacon ahead of us, right? And we want to set our sights on it, but we want it to be drawing us to it versus feeling like we're on this journey of 1,000 miles, right? Instead, we want to be like moths attracted to the flame. We want the thing we want to be so inspiring, so exciting that we don't feel heavy when we're going towards it. Instead, we want it to be this totally positive, totally exciting place that we get to go to. And I think a lot of what happens, what we call procrastination, is actually we're not clear on what we want. And as a result, we don't really want the things that we're putting in front of us, so we're not drawn to them. We feel like we have an obligation to get there. Is this true for anybody? If this is true for you, if you feel like the things on your list are more like, I have to do this, and it feels like negative and draining, put a 1 in the comment. If your to-do list, I see Sarah's putting her finger up. For those of you that are on Facebook, if the things on your list are weighing you down and not making you feel good about what you want to do, then put a 1 in the chat. And I'm getting several 1s. Awesome. Awesome in a sad way, right? Like we don't want that. But the truth is we procrastinate because the things that are on our list are not really the priorities of our heart. And so what we are going to do is start talking about our desired destination. What do we really want? And we've got Candy on from Indiana. Yes. And sometimes she's a 1, which is great because you don't have to always be weighed down by your things that you need to do. Having an awareness of why you choose one over the other is probably really important. And again, for those of us that are these high achievers, we do a lot, right? And so it looks like we get a lot done. But in your heart, you know that you're holding back on those things. And that's why you're here today, is because you recognize that you can get some things done, but then there's that thing or those 2 or 3 things that you just never seem to get around to. There's always chaos around it. There's always an excuse or a reason why you're not hitting that mark that you've set for yourself. And that's why you've really got to dig deep and get yourself to a place where you break through and it no longer is about the thing that's delaying you moving forward. The actual definition of procrastination is delaying or postponing something. It's dithering, it's stalling, it's when we unnecessarily do it. It's not laziness. Laziness is when you willfully, voluntarily decide that you don't want to exert that effort. But procrastination is like all this external stuff getting in your way. So what I want you to do is write down on your paper, and if you have your notebook with you, put a circle in the middle of the paper, and in that circle, what is the thing you really want? What is your pinnacle of success in the future? And be as detailed as you can with this. I like to say that if you were to go order a pizza, you don't go up to the counter and just say, give me whatever you have, right? Or you don't just say, I just want a cheese pizza. I mean, maybe you do. But if you want that pizza that has all the things on it that you want, or if you were at the restaurant and you're ordering your meal, right? You don't just say, give me what you have. You say, I want, and you get very specific, the kind of crust. Do you want the thin crust? Do you want the thick crust? Do you need special dietary concerns for cheese or red sauce? Do you want a lot of cheese? Do you want a little? What are your favorite ingredients? When you are writing what it is you want in your future, you want to get specific, like you're standing there placing your order. Details for your wants are key. Let me give you a minute to write that down. Write down a few things. And it's important to remember, I use this quote from the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland a lot. But the quote was, if you remember, Alice in Wonderland had fallen into this wonderland of just chaos and things that she didn't understand. And she was going from weird story to weird story. And she sees the Cheshire Cat and she's asking for directions. And he says, where are you going? And she doesn't really know. And he says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. Right? So the clarity of vision will get you where you want to go. If we contrast the chaos of the Alice in Wonderland story with an equally kind of unusual story, but The Wizard of Oz, right? Dorothy knew exactly what she wanted to do. She wanted to go home, and she had a set of milestones to get her there. So she had clarity of vision, and she knew how to make it happen. Right? She had to get to the wizard. The wizard was going to show her what to do, and he was going to make it all better. Versus Alice in Wonderland, who just let life happen to her. She drank this, she ate that, and life went kind of crazy for her. And she just took whatever it had to offer. We want to be in control. And so when we sit down and make our list of what we want, when we write down our dreams, there's a couple of rules. The first one is we don't want to give ourselves any limitation on our dreams. If as you're writing something down, and I said write it in a circle, right? Now outside the circle, you can write down, you can expand on it, okay? Is this really what you want? And it doesn't matter what it costs or how you're going to get it. Like you can't say, I want this, but it's not going to work, so I'm not going to write it down. Instead, we want to really put all the things on our heart, even if it doesn't make sense to anybody but you. If you've been given a vision, if you have a desire in your heart that makes sense to you, write it down. Don't worry about you don't have the right education. Don't worry about you're too old or you're too young. Maybe even your health. You've had an injury, or you are thinking that your past trauma has damaged you in some way. Nope. We get to dream our big dreams, and the how comes later. But first we want to get that total clarity on what it is we want. Now, some of you have heard me describe our dream as like a pinnacle up on a mountaintop. Okay. And that's a great way to look at it. But I also want you to kind of think of that mountain range, right? It's one thing when you're in a demographic where you see that one big peak, but a lot of times it's not one big peak, right? There's a range. It's a flowing range. And so I want you to expand your dream to be a bit more balanced and to cover multiple areas of your life. And what I mean by that is if you've been around a while with me, you know that as a certified ULA life coach, we use what's called the 7F framework of life. And the 7 F's of life are listed on the chart. I'm going to say them in a minute. But the 7 F's give you an idea of areas of your life that maybe you haven't thought about. So you have your big dream. That's maybe the top of your mountain. But then around it, you might have a fitness or several fitness goals. Fitness is your health. It's your mental health as well. It's what keeps your body going so that you can achieve your dreams. If you don't have your health, it's really hard to go after anything else, right? And then we have finance. A lot of us have a dream that has a dollar sign attached to it. And that's because we recognize that we need resources to get us where we want to go. And money is a resource that can be used to get us where we want to go. How about your family goals? It would be a lonely world if it was just us and we just got to do our dream and we didn't have any outside influences, right? Who do we celebrate it with? Who do we get to take on the journey with us? That's our family. Or maybe who helps us or holds us back from our journey? That's our family as well. And we just have to be aware of it. But when we write down our dreams that involve family, we get some clarity over what role they play in moving us ahead in our dreams. And then we have our field, which is our F word for your business or your career or your passion. It's where you spend the majority of your time. So, most of us, if we have a full-time job, it's an 8-hour-a-day commitment. We might have other things that take a lot of our time during the day. That's kind of your field. That's the thing that you're into. I love the word field because it reminds me of like out there digging in your lot of land, right? What are you trying to make grow? What are you moving forward? The other F, the dream that a lot of people don't think about, is your faith. What are your dreams for your connection to your creator? For me, that's God. And that involves, different things with church. I do some stuff with 100X, which is a kingdom-focused group, a community of people that are extending the kingdom of God. And so I have dreams. I have things that I want to do. My husband and I are working to do what we call kingdom couples, where we bring just different value systems into marriage. So that's a faith dream that I have, is that we get to work in that capacity. And then you have your friends and your fun. So as you're writing out your dreams, don't forget the people that you get to invite along the journey with you, not the people that are attached to you by blood, but the people that you choose to be a part of that journey. And don't forget the fun. What are some fun dreams? Fun a lot of times will include travel, but it's the things that make you laugh. It doesn't have to cost money to have fun. It can be a walk on the beach. It can be spending time in that park that you enjoy. It can be just having more time to watch the sunrise and the sunset. So hopefully you are getting some ideas for what you really want. And it's so key to write them down. What you'll find is that over time, when you have your dreams written down, you will notice that you start to get them. More people achieve their dreams and their goals when they're written down than if it's just high flying out there in the middle of your mind. All right. Do we have any questions at this point? All right. Well, how are we going to get to our destination? This will take some time outside of our class, right? But there are some areas that I want to expand on here. The first is to examine the dreams that you wrote down. And you may want to do this, take some time this afternoon and just kind of think about the things that you've written down as your dreams. The number one thing that's going to keep us from procrastinating on our dreams list is it what you really want? And I'm emphasizing the word you because sometimes our dreams are what we think we want because other people have told us we need to get to this level. Like, I need to be a millionaire because everybody says that's what you need to be. or I need to have a business because that's what everybody says you have to do when you're an entrepreneur. Maybe there's some disconnects in your thinking there, but looking at your list of dreams, is it really what you want? Are you going after that degree because it's what you know you're meant to do? Or is it because somebody told you that's the next step on the path that you're on? And in the back of your mind, you're like, I don't know if I really want to go that way anymore. So if you have a goal for something that you don't really want to do, but you haven't really told anybody, but you have that conflict within you, what are the chances that you really want to do it, right? Like, no wonder you're procrastinating. It's not really important to you. So it requires a heart check. And really what you can do is take a look at an item. I've had to write several of those dream things down, but do some heart breathing. If you need to know how to do heart breathing, put a comment in there about, just say heart breathing, and I will send you, I have a link to other videos that I have done where you can learn to breathe through your heart. And it's really just a meditation type style where you sit and you close your eyes and you put your hands on your heart and you imagine the breath coming in and out of your heart, and think about the future that involves that dream. And if what you're thinking about is very positive and you get excited, you feel your mind start to have these really great emotions, then that is where you're going to want to go with that. I see your messages about heart breathing. Great. I will make sure that I send you guys that video. So you'll do a heart check on your dreams and just spend a few minutes, whatever time you have, just getting in touch with, does this dream really align with what it is I want to do, what I feel I'm meant to do, the direction that I want to go in? And you will feel so much better about that. Okay, perfect. I'm getting a lot of you saying you need that video. Very good. Okay, so we're going to examine, we're going to make sure that these dreams are really what we want them to do. And then we want to expand upon the reason behind our dream. See, just wanting that $1 million or that great big house doesn't make it happen. There's a lot of stuff out there today that says, we have to do the law of attraction. We can just think it and we can get it. Well, I love this analogy. Like, God doesn't give you the 40-year-old oak tree. He gives you an acorn, and you have to plant it and water it and take care of it. I mean, he does a lot of the work, right? But you still have to take effort and action on your part. So you might be praying for this big outcome, but he has to give it to you in baby steps. He doesn't give it to you fully developed. So when we're thinking about our dreams, we want to make sure that just wanting it isn't going to get it. We have to have the reason why it's important to us has to expand. And so this is why a lot of times, especially as moms and women that have devoted themselves to their families, right? We get a lot of things, or we do a lot of things that are family oriented or towards our children, because that dream is so big and it matters so much to us that our children have wonderful legacy, that they know who they are, that they're given all the things that we want to give them. And what we do is we put ourselves to the side a little bit. And that's why when our dreams come into play, if it's just us that we're trying to do it for, we start to say, well, but their needs are more important, or I need to spend my time helping them. And we don't hit our place. So we have to multiply our why to be much deeper, expand to much more than just our kids. Because if it's just our kids and then we go through those periods of time where they kind of we get mad at them, or we get frustrated with their choices or whatever, and then our dream goes away because we're like, well, I was doing it for my kids, but they don't really care. So why would I want to keep doing that? And then it deflates us and we don't want to hang out there. So make the reason you want this bigger than just you. Okay. I'll give the example of Tony Robbins because I love where he took his life story. But he was poor. His family didn't have a lot of stuff. And he remembers a Thanksgiving where they had no food. and somebody came to the door with a basket of food for them. And it changed his life, and he decided that he wanted to help others. So at the age of 17, he had a little bit of money, and he decided to give two families, a Thanksgiving meal. And he went out and he bought food, and he went to a church and he found two families and he brought them food. And it felt so good that he was able to give back and help families like what he had experienced as a young child. This is at 17, right? That then the next year he gave to 4, and the next year he did more, right? And as he grew and came into the guru that he is, this last year, he had a goal. He's been feeding hungry people with a lot of what he does, but he had a goal to feed 100 million people. Okay. And he gave himself 10 years. But see, if he had just expanded by a couple each year, he knew he wouldn't be that motivated because he knew he could do it. Like he was feeding lots of people and it had been kind of eh. But what he did is he challenged himself by making that number bigger. And I just yesterday got a message from Dean Graziosi that Tony hit his goal 2 years early. So he gave himself 10 years. He hit his goal 2 years early. And he knew last year that this was going to happen this year. So his goal at the start of this year was 1 billion meals. 1 billion. He didn't, because he already knew he could do 100 million. He said, what if I did 1 billion? And already in the first 3 months of this year, he has gone out and explained how he fed 100 million to a lot of people that have the resources. And he already has earmarked, what did he say? I think it's 600 million meals already in the works for his 1 billion meals. And that only happened because he made the goal so much bigger than himself that he realized, I got to take action on this. Like you can't sit back and try to make 1 billion meals happen, right? And he didn't just wait and say, well, I got to wait. I gave myself 10 years, so I've got 2 extra, what do they call it? Like gap years when you're in college and the college students decide they want to not push themselves. And so they take their gap year. He didn't sit back and say, oh, I've got time. He said, no, if I'm going to hit 1 billion, I got to hit it hard. I got to do it now. I've got to get on the stick with this. And I know we've all had those moments, right? Where we recognize I got a lot I got to get done. And so as a result, we push forward and we do it. And so that's under this category of energize. You want to feel that you have enough energy to sustain the dream that you want to achieve. And sometimes I've done this myself. Like I have those dreams and I'm like, well, you know what? I don't think I can do it. It's going to take so much of my energy that I shouldn't even try. If that's what our dream is like, then there's something wrong. That's what's going to lead to procrastination. If we already have an excuse at the time we're writing it, like, writing a book, it's going to take so much time and I don't have the time. So we start to disconnect from it immediately. We don't want that with our goals. So we're going to be coaching through that on the next couple of days. But we want to have this approach from a peak state of mind. Tony always talks about, I'm sorry, the sun is getting right on my face, but Tony always talks about, we want to have a peak. We want to be in a peak state. He calls it a beautiful state. And we want to wake up in a good mood. We want to keep that energy with us on a regular basis. And from that place, when we know that we can conquer the world, that's when we want to address our dreams. So Tony does a lot of like priming. I'll put in the link for priming as well, but he has us do these like breathing exercises where we bring the energy into us. And from that, we make decisions. We decide what we want. We move forward from that place. And that's what we'll do tomorrow. We'll start out with a little bit of an energetic move, and then we'll go into the rest of our work that we're going to do. And the last thing I'm going to say for the lesson today, I know I've gone 5 minutes over and I apologize, but we want to have a plan for moving forward now. We don't want to say, okay, I've made these dreams. I've got them in my notebook. I'm going to come back to them next week or next month or in 6 months, or that'll be what I do in December to get ready for 2024. No, as soon as you hit these dreams and get them down on paper, we want to start looking at what actions can I take on those dreams. And so I'm giving you this suggestive message that tonight I want you to be thinking about those dreams. I want you to take it and do some of this analysis about the heart and is it aligned with what you want? How could you make it bigger and get more energized? How could you feel more connected to your dream? And what are some actions that you think you want to start taking? And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. And remember that tomorrow is about the reality of where you are now. We're gonna come back a little bit and revisit what we want from the lens of where we are now. Remember, if you are using a GPS to go someplace, you always put your destination in, but you have to tell it where you're starting from. And when we do that, it plots out the plan for us. And that's where we want to get in this class over the next 2 days, because we have now finished day 1. So hopefully this was very good information for you. Please put in the chat some feedback, let others know. I mean, the more that we comment in the Facebook group, the more that Facebook will alert other members of the Empowering Champions community that this is valuable information that they need to know. And I appreciate you guys so much. I'm glad you showed up. I look forward to seeing you guys again at 8:30 Eastern time tomorrow. Goodbye and have a great day. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you. Candy said this was awesome. I appreciate that, Candy. Thank you. And tomorrow we'll be starting on more. Take care, you guys.